listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
Whenever we have to look into any kind of reports, there are ways in which you can get in there. Now, what are the ways? The first thing that we need is we have to get into a business object. That's the most important part. When we go into a business object, we type in BO colon the name of the business object. Now worker is the most important business object. Now why we say that worker is the most important business object? Because without worker, Workday is zero. Workday is nothing. And now you see we have worker. When I click into that, I will generally get 4 tabs. And that is what I have shown you earlier if we discussed about it. We have fields related business objects, data source, and then reports. Did we talk about it earlier? If you remember, I started with the introduction maybe last week, not this week. That's the reason I asked this. Then if we have not done it, then let's start from here. Now we are starting with reports. Before that, we have to get into this one. Let's first understand this. Then only we will be able to move towards reporting. What is a business object? Business object is just like a table. I'm sure everybody you know what is a table in a database. Is there anybody who does not know it? I will assume that everybody knows that you know what is a table. Workday is a SaaS product. Everybody knows that. Now, when we say SaaS product, that means Workday has not told us what is the database they are using, what is the middleware they are using, and what is the front end they are using. We don't know anything. But there must be a way in which we should be knowing that how we can actually store the data in Workday and how we can get the data from Workday. And for that purpose, Workday has given us business object. Business object is just like a table within a database. Everything that we store or everything that we work in Workday is somewhere related to some business object. Now within a business object, if you see, what are the things that you're seeing here? What are the things? You got fields related business objects, data source, and reports. Have you guys created a table in any of the database? What is the typical command to create it? Let's say I'm using Oracle or SQL Server. How would you do that? Create table, create table, create table, create table, table name, right? And then what else do you do? Then field name and data type, respective data type, field name, data type, and then the restriction. Absolutely correct. Here, if you observe in this section where it says field, you have field name, description, field source, and field type. Do you see these 4 columns? What Workday does is, it does not allow you to create a table. It will not say that you can go ahead and create a table. but it gives you almost a similar format. You see, it gives you the field name. Description you can ignore. Then there is a field type. That's an additional thing. And then you have the field source. The field name is nothing but the column name of the table. There are two things. One is standard fields, and then there is custom field. Standard fields are those fields which is Workday delivered. Custom fields are those fields which are basically calculated. Now why we say calculated field as a custom field? Because unless you have a requirement, right? Unless you really have a requirement from to perform some activity, you will not create a calculated field. A calculated field is created only once you have a requirement. Otherwise, you will not use it or you will not create it. Wherever you see calculated, and it is generally created by a user in the system. Here you see you have got Workday delivered and calculated. These are the two types of field source. And then comes the final thing, which is called field type. Now, what is this field type? A field type is basically your data type. There are 8 types of field types in Workday. First is numeric. Now we all know what is numeric, right? It's number. And as you see in Oracle, right, you have long double integer. All those things are not there in Workday. It is simple. And it has as many values you want. There is no restriction. 3. No. Then comes which is text. We all know what is text, right? It is just like a string. If I have to compare it with Oracle, or basically in Oracle it is not string, it is char. Varchar we use, right? And then you got numeric text. Then you have got date. Date is just like a calendar date. Like you put your date of birth. If you have to put something like, 1st of February 1975, you don't have to write that. You have to select from the drop down. This is my year, this is my month, and this is my date, right? If you do that, that's how you're using a date. Then you have date and time. Now date. We have understood that it will give you the exact date, and along with date, time comes into picture. Now where exactly this kind of fields are used? These kinds of fields are used in a specific, requirement. Maybe when you have to schedule a report because you need a timestamp that, let's say, every day at 10 am, my report should run and it should be delivered to these many people. It is absolutely to perform the reaction. If you have such kind of fields, which is date and time, up till now we discussed numeric text, date and time. Any questions on any of them? Then comes the next part, which is any. I mean, you can think of it. It may be wrong. You can still think of it. Boolean. Boolean is the most used, field type that you would have seen. It's not only in Workday, it's almost everywhere. Now, what is Boolean? It's either 0, 1 or true or false. Correct. Then we have currency. Currency is a field. Let me show it. Maybe somewhere. We will try to see that. You see, currency. What is this currency used for? Currency specifies, the value of the country where you are working. Let's say I am setting up a company. Now, when I am setting a company, let's say I am setting up in India. What should be my currency in which I am doing the business? I know, Indian national rupees. But let's say I am a global company and my organizations are across the globe. Then, and I am saying that I am using a global currency, I am not using a, then what will happen? I will be using anybody. I will be using. You will be using USD, right? It could be anything. I could be using a USD. I could be using Euro. I could be using GB. I can make INR as a global currency. These days, INR has also grown in that way. Whatever I am going to use, it is going to be calculated as per the exchange value. And that is the reason Workday gives you that facility that you can use currency as. Then comes the next part, which is single instance. Single instance. I don't know if it is visible here, but you are seeing able to. In what case we use that? And how the data will look like for this currency. See, when I am going to set up a company, the company has a value called default currency. In the report, if I use a current type, one field with this, and currency as a data type, how the data would come for this field? You will be able to select any kind of currency for this. Every country has its own currency. Right? If two people are executing the same report, if I can select INR and other person can select USD, you can do that. The calculation can, as per the exchange rate, it will vary. And that exchange rate, it has to be set up in Workday. If that exchange rate is not set up, then even if you use USD, it will not give you the right value. If the default currency is INR, before using this field, a developer has to set up that. Got it. Alright. Now I am going to talk about two more fields or field data type that you have in Workday, which is single instance and multi-instance. Now, single instance is just like drop down. You may have seen when you try to fill a form, right? And in that, let's say, you are putting an address. Now, when you select the list, when you go in, field called country, you click on that. What happens? You get a list of countries. Or no? And in that list, I am going to select one new. Correct. Right? Because I will have an address which is at one location, and that should be in one country. That is basically called a single instance. But out of that list, I am selecting only one value. That is the reason you have single instance, right? Does that make sense? And then, similarly, the name suggests multi-instance, single instance. If you have understood, what about multi-instance? What do you think? We can select multiple options from the drop down. Exactly. You have multiple options from that drop down. What example should I take? Let's say I am setting up my profile on a job portal, and the job portal asks select for cities where you want to apply for job or where you want to search for the jobs. And in that list, there are 100 cities. Out of that 100, I am selecting. Now, what is that? It is a multi-select or multi-instance data type. Does that make sense to all of you? This is about the fields, guys. You know, we cannot forget it. And that's you. If you see, it's very similar or exactly the same as a table. When you create a table, you have to have a field name, the data type, and the restriction, right? Whatever the restriction is in Workday, there is no as such any restriction. That's the reason there is nothing mentioned here. Then comes the related business object. I hope I can move forward. You have understood all these things. Can we create a business object or we have to use we can create only fields on an existing business objects. Workday does not stop you from creating a business object. Workday will allow you to create it. But by default, there are many business objects. You really don't need to create one. If you really want, just create it. For the creation purpose, that's a different story. If you want to use that in reports and everything, for that purpose, you need to use, a normal thing. You can just go ahead and use the default ones. There is no problem. I was told that we cannot create a business object. I would like to see how we can create. Once you have time, we will see that. Not a problem. We can create a business object. It is not that. It is just that. If you have a permission, right? If you have a permission, then only. Otherwise, you can't do it. That's a factor. Let's see. Let's see if I have the permission in this tenant or not. I don't have the permission. Otherwise, I would have gone ahead and created it. Or I would have at least helped you create it. You can. If you want, what you can do, if you don't have the permission, you can raise a ticket with Workday support and tell them that I need this kind of a custom business object. I need this kind of fields. They will help you do that. The tenant access, which we will be getting as part of this training, they should provide us with a right for the practice. Full access is there. It's not that it is not there, but there will be certain restrictions because nobody would want anybody to make any changes somewhere, right? Full access definitely will be there. Changing the fundamental or the the basic parts, would not be allowed by anybody. Here you see the next part that we have is a related business object. What is this? They are, right, business object is a table. You may have heard about related tables. What is that? If I have to just ask you, what do you know? Understand by related table, then what will you say? To table, which are kind of like related by a foreign key. Foreign key, or you can say that, let's say that to table, where there are fields which are common in nature. Right. That is how the related business objects. They are different number of fields which are common between two business objects. When you have two business objects where fields are common, those are called as related business objects. Here you see, what is this? Business object and then number of links. What is this business object? Work, correct? When I say work and number of links, there is at least one which is common between worker and this particular business object. Right. Let me scroll it down and show something. Let's go into this. Because 4 is a good number to see. Here you see, this is the field name, academic appointment time. Academic appointment with sabbatical program, primary academic appointment. These are the 4 fields and it belongs to what? The ownership of these 4 fields. But these 4 fields are also being used academic appointment, business object. In this case, the academic appointment has become related business object. There is a field which I own it. There is a field which I own it. Let's say a patch of land which I own it. And if someone asks me, can you give that? Or share with me that I cultivate something and I can give it to you as well and keep it for myself as well. For example, if you have worker and some other table, but both objects have one field like a worker, right? We can try to use that kind of and extract the other fields which are related to or specific the other. Take, is it right? That is correct. Is right there. Let's say I want to get the company of that when we are creating the all active and terminated. For that, I want to have a company for it. Now since we have a big list, can we filter directly company by somehow? And can we see it? We will go into the reports. Then we will see it. Right. It is just that I am trying to help you. That how exactly we can do that. Thank you. This is my related business object. We have understood that when we have fields in common, right? Whoever is the owner of the field will be on the left side. That's what you saw earlier, right? that you have the worker that was on the left side. Let me show it to you. Once again, work, worker, work. This is a field name, and then this is a related business object. Now, one more thing is, whatever or whichever business object is owning the field is also called as primary business object. Always remember, it will not be mentioned anywhere here. But when you create a report, then you will see it. We always should remember that it's a primary business object. Primary business object has multiple advantages that we go into a report. Then we will see. You will be able to remember what is primary business object, what is a related business object. Then comes the next part. Now it is something where you have links to. Now links basically tells you that the field of primary business object is being used by other business object. Primary business object can also use the field of other business object or no. If worker field is being used by other business object, why can't worker use the field of other business objects? We can also use it, right? In this case, it says links from. When you scroll it down, let's see this one. Here you see there are two fields, issue and request. Now it belongs to which business object? Abstract business asset, and asset share. Right? This is my primary business object here. But this is being used by worker here is related business object. Do you see the difference now? Whoever is owning it, that is your primary business object. Whoever is using it is your related business object. Does that make sense? That is the importance of related business object. We will see that importance when we go and build reports, because you will be able to understand how I am able to use multiple business objects in one business, one table. That you can build different type of reports. Then comes the next option, which is the most important part of any business object, which is called as data source. Why it is the most important part? It is a most important part, or it is very much, relevant. Because if we don't, the data source, we will not be able to build reports. That's very important part. To build the reports in Workday, you need that data source. You don't need to remember the name of the business object. You don't need to remember anything. But what you need to remember is the name of the data. See, initially, it is not possible. It is not possible for you just remember the name of the data source, because every time you have to build something, you will have to get into the business object, get into the data source, understand which data source is required for me, and then choose that to build the report. Does that make sense? Why exactly do we use data source? What is the utilization, or what is the advantage of using data source? When I say Workday is following is using the technology of cloud computing. Right. We have understood. Workday follows. There are certain limitations of cloud computing that also we should know. Multiple advantages are there, but there are certain limitations. Well, what is that limitation? The limitation is I will be able to have you. Do you have idea uh, in a database what is view? The view is like if you want to extract selected fields from multiple tables and create one view on top of it. Right? For example, if you have like 2 or 3 tables and create a view, that's where you can map them, all the fields that are required, and make it into one view rather than like creating one more table. Database? Absolute. How it works is when we talk about data sources, right? Data source actually helps you getting the information at one go. If you see, there are multiple fields, right? There are 6,000 plus fields. Just imagine if you have to take one value as well, it is not going to be easy to traverse through 6,000 plus fields. Right? Workday does this. Workday gives you an option that how you can reduce the data. If I have to look into, here it says active and terminated work of IR's reporting. This gives you detail. Only for IRS, it gives you data. Active and terminated work retired employees are not there or retiring. It is only giving you the data about retired employees or workers data source. But this is not a standard data source. What is this? It is basically index data source. There are two types of data source as well. One is standard data source and then one index data source. Have you heard about this word index? Index in terms of database. What does that do? You know, when you talk about an index data source, what does that do? It will optimize the execution. But how? Each record will be assigned to a particular index. In means what? That is what I am trying to understand. A unique number, actually, a unique number or an address. It helps fasten up the query for result. But how? Basically, holds the address of column or the record. Right. I will tell you when we use standard data source. The search that we do, because when you are preparing a report, it searches the data and then it brings it in front of you. Right. It will search the data based on the condition that you have put in the report. And based on that, it will create a report and send it on display in front of you. Right? Everybody agrees to that. What happens here is when they are trying to search the data, if you are using a standard data source, the search will be linear. Basically means that it will start and it will go till that place where it is finding the data. If that is a scenario, then just imagine if I am using a normal standard data. I have huge number of records. It is in millions and billions. What will happen? My report will keep on running, right? And it will keep on running till a very long time. In fact, it might time out also. Because if you remember, it is on cloud on. You have a limit for everything. You cannot do anything of your choice. Right? Do you guys remember? Or you don't. I mean, every resource has its own rate limit kind of thing. Time, the rate limit. You know how exactly it works. Everything is there, but that is not my concern. The concern is if I am using a standard data source, that fetching of data may be delayed. There is a huge amount of record. If there is no huge amount of record, I can still use standard data source. There is no problem. To make it more simple, I would try to make it more simple and help you understand. Let's take an example of a book. I have a 1,000-page book. I have a book where it has 1,000 pages. And let's say I am trying to search for one word. How will you do that? We have to read page by page. You have to read page by page. Go to the index. Go to the index. Will give you what? It's like the alphabetical order. It gives which topic is in which page, right? But does it give you the word? It gives, it doesn't give the word, but it gives the topic. Which topic? It gives you the topic, not the word. If you see, generally, if it's a course book, at the back of the page, there is a glossary, right? Have you seen that? And in that glossary, you will see important words and their page numbers. Now, that is what is or indexing, not the index that you see in the book, right? In that, at the end of the book, you have like 3, 4 pages or, pages where it is actually giving you the important word and their page numbers. You can find this word in that particular page number. This one word is in particular page numbers. Live, wherever you can find. What will happen? Those glossary is available in my book. I'll go to that. I'll find that page number where the word is located, and then I'll directly search that. Just imagine if that glossary is not there, then what will happen? I will have to start from page number 1 and continue till the time I have to. I haven't got that. And I said it. What did I say? That it is a 1,000-page book. If I have to start it, I have to start it again from page number 1. And let's say that page, that value is in page number. How much time you think it will take for you to run every time if you have to go to that word and and you're not knowing that it is on page? What will happen? It will take a very long time, right? Or no? And then the report will time out, guys. Because see, imagine if cloud-based solution, a cloud-based application gives you a time limit for everything. You cannot have a monopoly. Then no, I have got my resource. I have to complete this activity. They might give you like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That is too much. 5 minutes to operation. And if it is not good within that amount of time, it will time out. And there is no doubt on that, because when you talk about cloud computing, you have resource sharing, you have what? Multi-tenancy that we discussed earlier. It or the business objects plays a very important role while you create reports. But see, this tenant has very limited amount of a few thousand records. Even if I am using a standard data source or that, it does not make a difference. As a best practice, what Workday suggests that if I am using a huge amount of data, in that case, if I am building a report, I should use data source. If I have a nominal amount of data, then in that scenario, I should use standard data source, not the index. Does it make sense? Repeat that, please. If I am creating a report, and we all know, right? That when I create a report, I need to know the name of the data source. Without the data source, I can't create a report. What is the best practice for that? That if you have huge amount of data, let's say it is in millions and billions, the records are there in that case. If you are trying to extract something, if I am trying to extract something, the data will be extracted through index data source, because it will help me to get the data. But if you have nominal number of records, which is in thousands, not even lakh, in that scenario, Workday suggests not to use index data source. They suggest you to use standard data source. That is how the best practices of Workday evolve. Same task. Do we have involved one index and one? It is not like that. If you have index data source, it will be like this, or workers, which is index. But if I just try to look for this, all work, see this, it standard. Does it make sense? Do we have in both categories? That's what I'm trying to tell you. We don't have the same data source in both the categories. I'm showing you. You see, all workers. This is my standard data source. If I have to look index work, the name will be work index or workers index data source. It will contain the same data, but it is index data source. It is not the same data source. Does it make sense? It answers my question. Actually, I wanted to know this one only. Same set of data can be indexed. That's standard as well. Exactly. But the name will be different. It will not be same, but same set of data. Data will be there. Same set of data is there. I'm sure now you have understood the difference between standard data source and index data source, right? Is there anybody who has not understood it? For example, for my implementation, right? Can I change data? For example, like Workday is giving me like word standard, but for my like I have like thousands and millions of records for it. In that case, I can create a data source of copying that and cloning that and making it to index. Is that what? I would not suggest that. Business objects is something which is already there in Workday by default, right? Data source. Data source is also present in within the business object. Here you see there are fixed. It has not gone to 64. Earlier there was 56. Now it has gone to 64. 64 data source is already available. And there are some of them which is indexed. And there are some of them which is standard. If you are not able to use them based on the requirement, we choose whether it's indexed or not indexed. Exactly. Right. In case it is still not satisfying your criteria, then only you can go for and create the data source. You can create it. But again, as I stated, it is only that if you have not got the exact thing right. Because see what will happen. When you create a new data source, you will try to get index. Basically, indexing cannot be done by us directly. You will have to raise a ticket to, for Workday to get that index. And Workday will tell you, why are you creating this new data source? Why can't you use this one, which satisfies your condition? And they will say, not to use the, and they will deny to index your data source. Here, this is where I wanted to know, what's the role of Workday support and within the Workday, right? If I am given a tenant, I pay some license fee and I get a product from Workday. I am trying to do some customization with whatever I am doing for my development. For example, like, I went with some of the data source. Like, wait, I need to do indexing. Then, like, how do I know that? Which is fundamental and which is customization within my limits, with my licensing or which permissions given to me and for what activities. We usually reach the Workday for support. How do we know that? For any kind of, structural changes, fundamental changes that we can do, like this indexing and everything, we reach out to the support team or the part of standard, like, And apart from that, if you are developing something, which means it is done by you. You just have to change the data source, but the field name and everything will be the same. That will not change. In my integration, or in my integration, like when I do the development, I change the data source to index all workers rather than all workers. Absolutely. But the field name and everything should be same. And when I am extracting the data also, it is seamless for them because it doesn't require a lot of database changes. Database layers, we don't have to do that, right? Correct data source. We have SIG4 right? Data source. And in the fields, we have like 6,000 fields. 6,000 should be part of each one of the fields, should be part of one of the data sources, right? For example, if you do math, right? I'll tell you how exactly it was, you know, just to clear that confusion will be there for each data source. All 6,000 plus will be there for each data source. How many of them actually have a value, right? 1,000 will be part of every data source. It will be, it's a index all workers. You can say all active and terminated workers, right? It's a whatever the fields that you have, which is 650, right? That field will be there for all the work. But the number is, it is only there for active and terminated. Retired employees are gone. A set of data is removed. Are you getting the point? The structure will remain the same. The structure will not change. But the data fields will be there. It's just that the data will be removed. If the data is removed, you will have less time, right, for to get the data. It's not traversing the complete structure. Understood, right? That is how it works. It reduces the data. If you go to only retired or retirees, what it will have? It will have the data. For only retired people, your active and terminated employees are gone. Then comes the next part, which is your reports. Standard reports and custom reports. Every business object that you have, they will have standard reports and custom reports. Standard reports are those reports which is built by work and given to us. You have the standard report and you see the data source. That's the reason I said if you have to create a report, you need to know the name of the data source. If you don't know the name of the data source, then you can't create a report. That is how your standard reports are created. Again, we cannot delete it. We cannot go ahead, eat it. What we can do is we can make a copy of it and use it as our own way. When we make a copy, it becomes a custom report. If you want to schedule it, if you want to run that standard report, still you can do that. What you can't is, you can't edit it. Then comes the custom report, guys. Custom reports are those reports which is created by users. Like, that's the reason you will have this option which says Workday account. What does this Workday account mean? Workday account means that you are going to create this. You will have your name here and you have the report and the data source. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.